Hey, warriors.
Misty has no voice today.
I don't have much of a voice, but I'm doing this anyway because I'm committed. So, welcome to episode 3. I'm so sorry. Um, we are your hosts. I'm Misty,
I'm Amber.
and today we are talking about brain fog and our favorite our favorite tips and tricks. I'll probably make Amber do most of the talking. As always, a quick disclaimer: anything mentioned in today's episode is strictly for informational purposes only and not meant to treat, diagnose, or cure disease.
Also, we know battling chronic illness can be difficult. So if you find that you or a loved one are in need of someone to talk to, please reach out to a trusted resource. Or if you're in the US, you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Again, that number is 1-800-273-8255. Let's get started. Yeah.
And so we would play our jingle right here, our intro song, but
Yep.
It's not ready yet, but it will be soon. We have
We're
a
getting
fellow
there.
spoonie who is going to do a song for us, so I'm super excited. We're keeping it in the spoonie community.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so brain fog makes us forgetful, clumsy, frustrated, motivated, slow moving, and confused. I guess I will start by defining what brain fog is. It's a lack of coordination due to medications, fatigue, pain, lack of sleep, depression, poor digestion, POTS or other dysautonomia forms, and other chronic health issues. So, an example of this would be, like the other day, right now is a good example. I'm having brain fog now. So a good example would be like, I got the towels out of the dryer, and I literally walked into the kitchen like I was gonna put them in the fridge. So just having like this mind that's just kind of like absent-minded, and it's just like I don't know where it went, but it's kind of just a part of chronic illness, and your body is fatigued, your body is in pain, and sometimes your mind just is like checks out too. And so we posted on Instagram a picture, and for our next topic, which is brain fog today, and asked some people to comment what brain fog is to them. And we had a really good response. We had like 60 comments and like 1,200 likes, and I was surprised how many people just totally relate. So I will catch my breath and let Amber kind of explain, and then I'll kind of go over some of our comments.
Well, what I think is the most interesting about brain fog is that it's not an actual medical condition itself, which is interesting because
True.
so many people and so many different types of people suffer from it. So I think it's interesting in that with it being like a side effect of all of those things that Missy did such a great job listing, it's interesting to me that there's not better information with regards to treating it, because when you Google it, which we spend a lot of time on Google, Google you, basically it's so funny because some of the things that they recommend are getting more sleep. Well, for a lot of people with chronic illness, sleep is not something that resolves that because we don't really get sleep. So I think that there needs to be some more awareness brought to, brain fog, because it's such a spectrum.
Right. There's so many causes.
Yeah, it's not a one size fits all. And I think that in the chronic community, we're starting to move away from that medical model of one size fits all. I mean, it just doesn't work that way. Like if you don't fit in these boxes, there has to be another way to deviate.
Right.
Because even with brain fog, like I had made a notation when I was thinking about what I wanted to say on this topic, and I'm like, sometimes it's funny. Like sometimes, you can laugh at yourself, and like it's like something like that where you're putting the towels in the refrigerator, or me putting the creamer in the pantry, and you catch yourself, or you don't catch yourself, and then when you go to look for the actual object, you're like, where is it? It's like hiding it from yourself.
Yeah.
And that's, you have a little chuckle and it's funny or whatever, but But what's scary, are the opposite ends of when that happens. And it's like, for me, I forget to put the car in park before I turn the key out.
I was just gonna say that.
And
so it can be dangerous.
Yeah. And so thankfully, like, I haven't taken my foot off the brake. I've caught myself pretty quickly. But it's one of those things. I mean, I'm pretty vigilant. I'm a pretty vigilant driver, and just because I've been in several accidents. So not my cause. but I'm pretty aware of my surroundings. So that kind of stuff actually scares me, because I don't know about for you, but that stuff, it's funny when it's like your keys you misplaced or something, or a password, but it's not funny to me when I'm driving heavy machinery and, I forget to put, the car in park.
Yeah.
It's kind of a little crazy.
In the past, my brain fog was so bad,
right,
that I would like be driving in my neighborhood and I would be at a stop sign and I'd be like, where am I? And I wouldn't recognize anything. And it got to the point where I literally had to write down my every thought, because it would escape me so fast. And it was so bad. I mean, I'm not to that point now, but
blips of time where you're like, when you really start to consciously think about driving, you're like, I don't remember the last 2 minutes of driving. You remember, obviously, because you're doing it. But to me, I have those moments of brain fog that it's really like a fog, like, that kind of rolls in where you're like, wait a second, like, time lapse. So, I mean, I think because there's such a big spectrum of, little things that are funny, and then bigger things, there definitely needs to be more awareness around this, because I was kind of shocked at how many people actually suffer from it. I don't know about you, but
well, just like I said, when I was reading the comments, I was like, this is a big thing. And it was kind of nice because some people were like, oh, like, other people have this too. So I commented, of course, because I wanted to try to get it going. And I had mentioned the other day, I was running out of gas. I was low on gas. I went to the gas station, went inside to pay so that I could get like a water or something. And then when I went to my car, I left. So I got like maybe 2 miles and I was like, oh my God, I just bought gas. I'm on E and I left. So someone else is probably like taking my free gas. So I called, and as I'm driving back, and I was like, hey, I was at pump. I knew what pump I was at least. I was like, I was at pump 8 and I totally left. So like it all worked out. They're like, just tell me where you're pulling in. I'm like, okay, I'm at 11. And they fixed it. But it's just like stuff like that,
or leaving the grocery store without your groceries. I've done that plenty of times. I walk out and I'm like, I left an entire bag of groceries. So I'm like, how did that even happen?
And another thing for me is that I feel like it disrupts my ability to get my day started. So there are some days where I think we actually posted, or you made that one, the post where we're saying like 9 o'clock, like getting ready to do my laundry, do this, and then it's like 9:05, bed. I'm just gonna stay in bed. And it's true, because I feel like sometimes my brain fog will just like take over and I'm just in this cloud and I'm just like, I can't even like begin to understand like where to start with like the simplest thing.
Do you find that your brain fog is worse the more fatigued you are?
I think so. I would say yes, but it can also be unpredictable. Like there's times where I'm like, I'm free today. I get to, catch up on all these things. I actually somewhat have energy, and then I'm like, I'm going to do these things. And, and sometimes, there's just, like I said, there's so many causes. It can be because I am drained. It can also be because maybe my body's just like, no, just chill and rest, just because you have like a free day, like actually take advantage. Maybe that's my body's way of trying to shut me down. Or maybe sometimes it can be a little bit like of a mental health aspect, because I do have depression sometimes, that where I just am like unmotivated. And I am on meds, so I do have, some days when my blood pressure is low, or my beta blockers are making it low. There's so many causes, and so I think that's why we want to break this stigma, is because a lot of people feel really insecure, like in their career or with their friends or relationships, because people don't understand. And it's like, these are intelligent people who are looking like they're not so intelligent sometimes.
Right.
And, like that's just why this is such an important topic to us.
When I think for me, like that's been one of the hardest hurdles, is because I was such a word merchant before. I mean, I love language and I love, having a wide vocabulary. And when I'm having a conversation with my child who's a teenager and I'm trying to get through a sentence or a story and I'm looking for a word that I know, but I cannot recall it. And then he's like, are you thinking of like chair? Or like, or he's finishing my sentence. And I'm like, oh my gracious, like this is so frustrating, because I used to be able to get through conversation no problem. And now I'm like, wait, what was either I trail off on my thought and I'm like, what was I saying? Or I stand there like it's just like things stop loading. It's like waiting for like the beach ball in Mac. Like you're just like waiting and waiting.
What is it? Phone.
Right. And I know people try to be helpful, but sometimes that's more frustrating too, because you're like, just give me a second.
Yeah.
I'll get there. Like so that part.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, I just was gonna say, that part is, I think, letting people that know around you, sometimes you just need a few seconds. If you see me struggling, like, or if you want help, if you see me struggling, jump in. But for me, I need some time, because I want to try to get there if I can.
So one of our Instagram friends, Mind, Body, and M.E, she said, brain fog has made me doubt my abilities, especially around work, studying, anything with words, conversations, etc. I worry I'm not capable like I used to be and not smart enough, even though I am. It's just the brain fog that's affecting my confidence.
Girl.
We were talking about that earlier, how,
yeah,
like we're intelligent people, and there's just days where we're just like, like there's times where I will be like in like, say, like in a class or a group setting, and like I'll have like these points that like are important to me that I feel like I want to say, and then I just won't even bother raising my hand, because I'm just like, like I don't.
Or my favorite, when you start with your good point, and by the time someone else is gone, then you're like, what was I gonna say? I had something so good.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the other thing too, is that for me, brain fog, especially when it's really bad, I miss appointments, and I miss birthdays, and I miss anniversaries, and I miss things that I used to really pride myself on being like, I miss assignments for school. Like it was getting to the point, like, I couldn't get through my day without at some point letting somebody down, because I was like, I didn't remember, like really genuinely don't know where it went. Got filed
too.
Names.
There's been times where like someone's been like, you don't know my name, do you? And I'm like, I swear it's right in here. I just
right.
And then I look like a jerk.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Well, I mean, obviously, like, brain fog varies, and so I don't know about you, but like along the way, I have started to pick up things that help me, whether it's little daily things that I adjust course on, or whether it's bigger things. So like, for example, because recognition and recall is so hard for me, I write everything down. I either have sticky notes everywhere, or I have a planner that I use, to the point where I actually time block for myself, so that I know exactly where I'm supposed to be from what time to what time. And then I also have been tracking where my time goes lately. So because sometimes I might start out the day with, great intentions, and then I get like halfway through and I'm like, nope, not happening. Or I catch myself sitting on the couch longer than I had planned, or whatever. It's nice to be able to look back and be like, oh, that was a tough day. So I can see exactly where my time was supposed to go and exactly where it went.
Yeah.
Just like you do with money budgeting. It's like,
yeah. For me, I use my calendar in my phone.
Right.
And I will put like, go to the grocery store to get this.
Right.
And that'll be like a task at, like, say I'll put it at 6 a.m. I don't care. I'm not necessarily going at 6 a.m. I just know it's there.
Right.
And then, all just little things like that.
Absolutely.
That, are simple, but like easy to forget. And then as the day goes on, I move them in my calendar all the way to the top, like to the 6 a.m. bar, and I'll just put them in in order up to the top so they're out of the way, and then I see what's left. I'm sure there's like a better way, but
Yeah.
for me, just scheduling it, because there's times where I'm like, I really need to do this, but I can't do it today. So I'm going to put this for like next Friday and get back to it.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about the world we live in now. I mean, for analog, I live in both places. I like analog, so I use a paper planner, but I also use my phone calendar because I can set an alarm. So a lot of times it may seem like extra work for a lot of people, but for me, that's what I need to do so I don't miss anything. So, I mean, if it's a paper I have to sign for my son's school, it's written down and there's an alarm with a due date. So it's like, I think that's the really cool thing about the time we live in, just because there's analog and then digital.
What was the app that you were talking about earlier?
Okay, so I wanted to mention, because I had posted about brain fog protecting passwords, which a lot of people related to, because which also people had great suggestions with regards to some people again are analog, so they write them down. Guys, just make sure it's in a safe place, because obviously it's your passwords. And then also some people had recommended some apps like LastPass or Password Safe, where most of those apps you just have to remember one password. And then obviously once with that one master password, then you can get in, and it either will autofill on the sites that you're on, or and then this one I love because it kind of marries tracking, journaling, photo journaling. Oh my gosh, so many things.
Simple Symptom Tracker.
Yeah.
Simple.
So
SYMPLE Symptom Tracker.
Yeah. Play on words like symptom. But this particular app I use for tracking health. So one of my favorite things about it, which let me grab my phone. One of my favorite things about it is that, let me tell you what I don't like about it first. I don't like that the non-free version is $8.99, but
oh wow,
but it's a one-time $8.99, and then it's yours forever, and then it's like infinite number of because the free version you can only do like 5 symptoms and 5 factors, and most of us have way more than that, so that doesn't really do much. But what I love about the app is that when you open it up, basically there's a section at the bottom just for photos. So like, let's say, like for me, I break out in various different types of hives all of the time. So you can take a quick snapshot, and it's, rather than being necessarily in, you're having to scroll through your entire photo album, it's in this app already. Then there's a factor section, which will pull data from Apple Health for Apple users. I'm not sure about Android. I'll have to check into that, but it'll pull like steps, heart rate, sleep, blood pressure, calories, weight, body temperature. And then you can add other factors to, like whether you went to bed late, whether you exercise, and it breaks that down, what medication you took, whether you went grocery shopping. So you have all of those factors. There's a place to check symptoms for evening, morning, mid-afternoon, and then early evening. And then there's a journal section. So you can write about whether it's mental health or whatever it is that you want to journal about. But my favorite part about this app is it takes all that data, and in the settings, all you do is go to doctor report, and it will do an entire report for you to give to your doctor.
Which is great. God. Because you're able to kind of like correlate that time of the month, or maybe like your activity and like what you ate, stuff like that, which kind of helps.
Which is nice, because rather than sometimes having to like track it on paper, we lost her, she went down. Rather than having to track it on paper, basically when you do the doctor report, you can do a date range, you can include your journal entries, or you can keep those private. As far as inactive symptoms, active symptoms, like there's so many things you can do with it. So it's really, really cool, because once you hit preview, it not only takes all of that data and it actually provides the ICD-10 code, which is the diagnosis code for the doctor too. So all of these symptoms that you're having, super cool. But to me, like this kind of stuff is huge, because how many times are you like sitting there, you're like, I should probably tell my doctor that, or, oh my gosh, like my leg was swollen again today. And you take a picture of it. And then when you're at the doctor's, because you're rushed.
That's true. That's another reason why it's so important to keep track of your symptoms, because you leave your doctor's appointment that you've waited like however many months for, and you walk out and you're like, oh my God, I totally forgot these. And like, maybe they were an important part of the puzzle. So it's just me, Sally, commented, and she said, I used to be sharp-witted, quick thinking, on my feet, and with a pretty vast vocabulary. That was then. These days I lose words mid-sentence, forget the point I was trying to make. I know that happens to everyone, but not to this extent or so frequently. So
we feel you, sister.
That's definitely another example that's definitely common.
Vocabulary seems to be pretty common for sure.
Yeah. Still on that boat is I guess I'm just saying
the handle.
Handles, yeah. Said, one of the worst symptoms, as you can feel too foggy to describe it properly to people that have never had it, which is true. It's hard to like to say the words, like to explain, like how you feel. Like there's been times where I was like at the grocery store, I was with my daughter and my husband, and I was trying to talk about something. I was holding up the grocery bag. My daughter was like, she had asked me something, and I was like, I couldn't, like, nothing was coming out. And she's like, are you ignoring me? Are you ignoring me?
Oh no.
And I was like, no, I'm just,
I can't find my words.
Exactly.
Well, I have heard some people describe it as like feeling hungover without the fun. So it's that like next day, like just out of it feeling, like we're just like, running through peanut butter.
Yeah.
Just so sluggy.
So Mild Booney pretty much said what I was just talking about, said, there are moments when I can't talk, can't string a coherent sentence together, and all the syllables come out in the wrong order. Then there are days where my brain just feels off, like it's not fully in the moment and off in the land of not quite pain, which is also a really good point.
Absolutely. For not articulating very well, these girls are knocking it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm
speaking my language. Yeah.
Because I'm just like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
The other thing that I find too, another tool or trick that I use is setting a Pomodoro timer, which for those of you that don't know what that is, basically there's apps. All you have to do is search Pomodoro, Pomodoro. But this little gadget I love. And you can find them on Amazon. I will show it. But you can find it on Amazon. You can find it just if you do a Google search just for Pomodoro timers. But there's tons of free resources, like I said, on your phone through the App Store. But what I love about this one is basically brain fog works two ways for me. Either I can't focus at all, or I get so focused I forget to do things like drink water or get up from my chair or stretch or all of those things, which for a lot of people that suffer from chronic illness, that becomes like this cyclical spiral down because you don't move and then you get stiff and then there's all of these other issues that pop up. So what's cool about this one in particular is that this one has increments that I don't have to actually go in and set on my phone. So there's 5, 10, 20, and 30. And so you just turn it on, and then whatever side that's facing you, you just flip it up, and it immediately starts the timer for that amount. And there's a little tiny countdown clock that you can see. But this, I'll set it for like, if I'm sitting at the computer and I'm working or I'm doing homework, I'll set it for 30 minutes, because then when the timer goes off, I get up, I drink some water, I stretch, I, move around, and then I can reset it again. And it just kind of helps me. Or if I'm doing tasks because with my brain fog, it's squirrel all the time. Like, I'm just like, what was I doing?
A bad case of ADD.
So bad. And then it's like, then at the end of the day, you're like, I was on a hamster wheel because like I'm exhausted, but I did not get anything done. So a lot of times I'll set the 10-minute side and I'll just give myself one task to do. So like if I'm tidying the kitchen, 10 minutes, and when the timer goes off, whatever's not done, I'll move on to the next thing. So at least it gives me kind of a start and stop point that is focus time. And so I'm only focusing on one thing, because otherwise my brain goes in a million different directions and nothing gets done. So,
the what if girl said, it affected my memory short term and long term. I think I sound intoxicated if it's really bad and mixed with fatigue. With those two symptoms are a dangerous cocktail, which I love that she said that it sounds like she's intoxicated sometimes, because
right.
I really truly feel like sometimes we can kind of look or sound that way,
Absolutely.
because the fatigue can be so bad.
Well, that's what I was, when we started talking at the beginning of the episode, like you Google, how to combat brain fog, and it's like, get more rest. And it's like, but you're so fatigued, you can't rest. So then
right.
what?
But it's so much more than that. And that's what I always try to say. I probably say this every episode, and I probably always will. And that's that nothing is one size fits all.
Absolutely.
So even if someone were to get more rest, I mean, that's just ridiculous. Like, I've been having a rough month, and there's been days where I've slept all day and got so much rest, and I still am just like,
still symptomatic the next day.
having one of those days.
Absolutely.
So, there's not really necessarily a certain way to like cure brain fog, because it really just kind of depends on everybody's unique situation. Like I said, your medications, your stress levels, your vitamin deficiencies, your fatigue levels, your pain levels.
Which is nice about that simple app, because then you can maybe start to see correlation. So, because a lot of times when you mention to the doctor, like, oh, I'm having brain fog, and they're like, well, yeah, that's to be expected. You have a chronic illness. Right. And you're like, okay, but how do I fix it? Because I've got life to live and stuff to do.
Yeah, and it's hard because there was actually like a week or two ago, I had, or I wasn't feeling well. And I called my doctor. I was like, can you please squeeze me in today? And it was like 10 a.m. And they're like, sure, like we can have you come in 45 minutes. And so it's down the street. So I was like, okay. I forgot. And it was like hours later, and I was like, oh my God, I needed to go to that appointment.
Right.
And unfortunately I think I was able to get in the next day. But that's just another example.
Absolutely.
Of brain fog.
Well, and I find too, for me, it helps the minute I think about it to get it out of my brain. So either write it down or set an alarm in my phone, because I've done the same thing. I've missed appointments that way. So now, like when I make the appointment, I immediately put it with an alert. Like if I need to leave in 15 minutes or I need to leave in a half hour, like that, I'm going to make that happen. Because otherwise, I'm like you, it just won't happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so Peppermint Patty, 1959. She, or he, I don't know. Patty's a girl name. I don't know. Here's another example of me right now. Anyway, Patty said, it can be very frustrating when you feel like there are no brain cells working, almost like an out-of-body experience, and you're not in control of your thoughts and feelings because you can't think clearly. Amen.
Yep.
That's a great example.
All these girls.
Was like me just like 2 seconds ago. So nailed it.
Yep, nailed it for sure. Yeah, no, I mean, all of those things. And that's the thing, is that I was talking to my husband about it, and why I like to track. And he's like, the hard part though is that sometimes there's just no correlation. So it's like, even though sometimes there may be a correlation, sometimes there may not be, so it's like.
My husband's right here cooking, so I'm like, I'm going to make him get in.
Yay.
He's cooking shallot. I'm making him cook dinner because I'm just like done
for the day.
Do you have a good example of me with my brain fog?
Put me on the spot, huh?
Yeah.
Let's see. There's a lot of
a lot of examples.
Yeah. Give one example.
Has she forgotten anything important without putting her on too full of blast?
Should have told me that you're wrong.
I saw you over there.
Well, I know that if I don't put your pills out in the morning, she won't take them.
Yeah.
It won't be done.
Yeah, he puts my pills out every morning. That's a good example.
Yeah.
Because I just won't forget. Even if I have it marked down like in a calendar or a note,
Yeah,
I try
absolutely.
all of the different ways and reminders. And like this is the best ways for him
Yeah.
to just do it.
Has been reinforced.
There you go.
Anything else? Or do you want to go back to cooking?
Yeah.
I'll let you.
I'll go.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely the same way. Like alarms, because I think even sometimes, even though you set alarms, I think then you get in a new habit of just like dismissing them very quickly.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I think having
I
an
have
accountability.
I have a reminder on my phone from like 97 weeks ago or something.
Just
like,
keep
I swear I did that.
snoozing it. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Oh,
Yeah.
I have an alarm every Friday for early dismissal
Yeah,
to
me
pick up my
too.
daughter from school because
I have forgotten my
that's a
child
good
plenty of
one.
times. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mama of the year over here.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like especially as like a parent, I feel like it can sometimes, like a few people talking about their confidence, and I feel like it can sometimes make you definitely not confident when it comes to parenting because it's like, of course we're like not crappy people,
Right,
but
absolutely.
like to forget your kid at school, like,
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't look good at all, but it's like, it's not like because we were out at the bar or something.
Right.
It was just because you're like, which isn't an excuse, but that's an example for like, parents or for just like people who work, it affects people's jobs and it affects their boss might think that they're totally slacking.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just can't do their job to their best ability because they have such a difficult time focusing. So
Absolutely.
and relationships, just being forgetful or feeling like you have to repeat yourself. I mean, there's been some people that commented too that, they at first thought they were having like dementia or like early stages of Alzheimer's because
or a mini stroke.
Bad.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And it is scary because that's the thing is that when you start either forgetting things that you know, or, like for a lot of people, obviously conversing and, having articulate conversations are part of their job. So when you're not able to do that, or you have afternoons where you're just like space cadetting out, like, that rocks your confidence for sure. And I think there's so much shame around that when there shouldn't be, because it's like, you have no control over it any more than you would a seizure or anything else that's a side effect of conditions that create chaos in your life. So
and again, that's why I think in some cases it can be somewhat dangerous, especially if you do work like operating heavy machinery, or if you're driving and you just space out, or if you can't remember to take your medication and you don't have an awesome husband that puts it out. I mean, these are definitely things that can be very problematic.
Well, and the stigma around people not wanting to admit it, because then you don't want to lose your job, so if all of a sudden, that's viewed as a liability, people get very guarded about sharing that information. So it's hard to have an open and honest conversation when you're scared of the repercussions.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So any other points that you want to make about brain fog?
I mean, definitely, like I said, check out Simple from the App Store, SYMPLE. Check out Pomodoro timers. And then definitely, figure out something that works for you. So if it's a combination of writing things down or digital or just analog, just find a system. Yeah, just find a system. It doesn't have to be perfect. You guys know we posted that not that long ago. It's about progress, not perfection. So have some grace for yourself. And, when you have a bad day or a bad few days or a bad month, take a deep breath, reach out to, your support, whether that's a friend or family or significant other, and rely on those people that are part of your team. And reach out to us too. I mean, we're here, we're part of this community. So if you need somebody to vent to, send us a message.
Yeah, and sometimes it can be good to just laugh about it, even though like sometimes it's not really a laughing matter. But just to be
Absolutely.
like, you know, just
Hmm.
try to make fun of the situation to make it more of a lighthearted, I guess, perspective, like, oh,
Yeah.
I put one time like face cleaner on my toothbrush, it's
Yep.
like
Yep.
it's funny in a way. I mean,
Um,
you have to look at it that way, or it's going to be a very dark
yeah.
place sometimes. So
And
I
now
think,
I have a sticky note on my dash that says put your car in park.
oh my gosh, I need to do that too, because that's
Yeah.
my biggest. For
I'm
some
telling
reason,
you.
I don't put it in park and then turn the car off.
Yeah,
Like
that's
my
what I do.
system's out of order.
Yeah.
So like it's running, I still have my foot, you
Mhm.
know,
On the
like
brake.
it's on the brake, and I'll unbuckle, I open my door, I put my
Yeah.
purse on, and then I'm like,
Yep.
oh, like one time when my brain fog was like at its worst, when I was saying I get lost like in my neighborhood, I
Right.
actually like left my car running during lunch once,
Oh
you know.
goodness. Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
you
those are
have to
definitely
make a note, a sticky
yeah.
note, then do it.
Yeah. Accountability partners, those work great. I mean, I have a couple friends that they know like they're my check-in buddies because if they don't check in, it doesn't happen. So,
Yes.
but yeah, so I mean,
Exactly.
and if you guys have any other suggestions, definitely, drop them, on the comments section on our Instagram. If you're not following us, definitely follow us because, there are some great tips from a lot of different people.
Yes.
So
And
it's
our
a great
Instagram
community.
is the invisible diaries. This is a
Yes,
perfect day to do this topic. We
absolutely.
also have a website. It's not fully um, at its best potential right now, but we've
Yeah,
started it, and the link is available on our Instagram profile. And we will soon, when we get to it, make blog posts. So this would be a blog post, this episode link, as well as some app suggestions and product suggestions that'll make it like easy and
absolutely.
convenient for you to access.
Yeah.
So that will be soon when we get there.
Yeah, just remember, guys, we're a work in progress. Like Misty and I both work and we, go to school and we have families. So this is a labor of love. It's going to be a long journey. And, you're in it with us.
Yeah, so we are available on Instagram, and
Mhm.
you may be watching this on YouTube or listening to it on podcast, whichever you're doing. There's multiple ways, so you can subscribe on iTunes.
Yes. We'll get there.
Yeah. So there we go.
Yeah.
I think I'm done mentally, and it's like 5:30, and I'm going to bed. I'm pretty
Sounds
sure.
good. Yeah. Get that
But
rest.
I will try to get this uploaded with BT Dubs.
Yeah. We'll be good.
So, but
So
I'm
thank you
Misty.
guys. Yeah. And I'm Amber. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it all the way through our babble. And like we said, definitely check out, Instagram, Be Invisible Diaries, and then definitely check out Facebook because that's a great way to interact too. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes. And I hope
All
you
right.
guys get more brain cells.
Yeah.
I know I need some.
Here's to the fog lifting for sure.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
a better way to put it, because we have the brain cells. They're just foggy.
Exactly. They're just out to lunch right now.
Oh my God. They're on vacation.
Definitely.
Take us with you.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Bye.
Bye.